I'm pleased to announce my intention to, and this is somewhat of a scoop, my intention to run for a fourth term as President of the United States. I will be doing that. I will be having an official, in fact, I think I have, I won 3 times. Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you. I'm going to do it. Should be easy. I'm getting very good at running for president. No, I won 3 times, did very well the second time, by the way. It's a rigged election, but we don't have to talk about it.
Well, folks, you just saw the United States of America having ceased to exist as a serious, functioning country. Donald Trump announced at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this past July that he is running for another term as President of the United States. There's just one little thing wrong. He can't. The 22nd Amendment to the Constitution clearly states that no president shall be elected more than twice. It did not, however, apply to whoever happened to be president at the time, because when the Republicans who wrote the amendment passed it in Congress and sent it to the states for ratification, many of which were dominated by Republicans and conservative Democrats, they were thinking that by the time it was ratified, there would be a Republican president in office. And in 1947, when I believe the amendment was first sent to the states after having passed Congress, all eyes were on Tom Dewey as the likely 1948 Republican nominee and as the likely winner of the 1948 general election, because President Truman was so unpopular. Both parties, by the way, did try to get Eisenhower to run for president in 1948, but he was already the president of Columbia University, and at the time he wasn't interested. He only decided to run in 1952 because he thought it was his duty to serve again. In fact, he had been serving in 1951 and 1952 as the commander of the Supreme Headquarters of the Allied Powers in Europe, SHAPE. But never mind. It looked like Dewey was going to be president as of January 1949, and the Republicans figured that he could be elected more than twice, and so they would have their own answer to Franklin Roosevelt. The only thing Tom Dewey and Franklin Roosevelt had in common was that they were both governor of New York at different times. And when Dewey lost the 1944 presidential election to Franklin Roosevelt, FDR, upon hearing his left-handed concession speech, said, "I still think he's a son of a bitch." And in the course of the 1948 presidential campaign, "Son of yours." And that's how Truman won in an upset. So Truman was president when the 22nd Amendment was ratified, but he chose not to run for a second full term in 1952 because Truman was smart. Unfortunately, Trump is a bigger son of a bitch than Dewey ever could have been, and he's nowhere nearly as smart as Harry Truman. He's not even as smart as Harry Houdini. Okay? I mean, his only talent as a magician is to make things like, oh, I don't know, prosperity disappear. And you know what else he's also made disappear? Critical thinking. Another thing he's made disappear is the courage to ridicule and to object when a politician says something stupid. He was in a room of reporters covering him on a regular basis, all eating what had to be a third-rate dinner. I mean, the quality of the food at these dinners is not exactly Le Cirque quality. And when he announced his decision to run for a fourth term, because the second term was illegally invalidated by President Biden, everybody in the White House Correspondents Association who attended the dinner was applauding him. Applauding him. They should have been objecting to him announcing his bid for another presidential term in 2028, because, may I get back to the 22nd Amendment for a moment? He's not allowed. Of course, there are a lot of sycophants in Trump world who are already looking at a possible loophole for the 22nd Amendment, saying that, well, he served 2 non-consecutive terms, therefore he should be entitled to serve 2 consecutive terms. The 22nd Amendment does not make an exception for presidents who serve second non-consecutive terms. Trump, by the way, being the only president other than Grover Cleveland to serve a second non-consecutive term. Of course, the Supreme Court might see it differently because the Supreme Court is full of Opus Dei cultists who believe that Trump is God, or at least was sent by God. I personally believe that Trump was sent by God because God ran out of locusts. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have a new argument for secession. The Democratic states, including my home state of New Jersey, should start making plans to withdraw from the Union now. The Democratic states shouldn't start seceding now because at the moment Trump hasn't done anything serious to start another presidential campaign other than get Trump 2028 hats made. But they should definitely have contingency plans. Now, a lot of people are probably saying to me, but Steve, you don't get it. The states are so interdependent on each other that if states led by Democrats with large Democratic majorities in their legislatures, like New Jersey and Massachusetts, try to leave the Union, the federal government will immediately put down any attempt to break away. Oh, I'm not so sure about that. I figure they'd have a hard time taking over New Jersey because we're sons of bitches, and in Essex County, where I live, that goes double because Essex County includes Newark. It also includes Orange, where my mother grew up, and she was a tough cookie. Anyway. So, yes, I think it's time to start looking toward the future. I think it's time for Democratic states to consider secession and be prepared for the time when the United States is on an inevitable course to break up into separate countries. And hopefully we can do this peacefully, like Czechoslovakia, and avoid an all-out civil war, like not the kind of civil war we had in the 1860s, but the kind of violent fracturing that went down in Yugoslavia in the 1990s. I mean, Trump may give us a new reason for the so-called blue states to secede by violating, yet again, a constitution he swore to preserve, protect, and defend. Warren G. Harding did more to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution than Trump. And Harding did it literally. He had the original draft of the Constitution taken out of the files of the State Department where it was falling apart and put in a protective glass case. I can't imagine Trump even doing anything like that. So, if he goes ahead and tries to run for re-election and no one objects, and obviously the press will not, you saw what happened in that room, then yes, then it'll be time for the Democratic states to leave the Union. But just remember, even if he doesn't try anything like that, even if he doesn't try such a bold-faced shenanigan like that, he's still given us more than enough reasons for the breakup of the United States to happen. Do keep that in mind. In that spirit, I once again present my sample ordinance for the legislature of the state of New Jersey to consider an ordinance of secession to dissolve the union between the state of New Jersey and other states united with her under the compact entitled the Constitution of the United States of America. Whereas the United States of America on the 5th day of November in the year of our Lord 2024 had elected a multiple charged and multiple convicted felon, henceforth to be referred to as the leader, to return to the office of President of the United States in violation of Section 3 of the 14th Article of Amendment to the Constitution of the United States that prohibits those who have participated in or directed insurrection or rebellion against the government of the United States from holding public office of the United States, and whereas the leader, upon taking anew the office of President of the United States, has unilaterally withdrawn from international agreements and organizations, has illegally eviscerated the bureaucratic institutions of said government in violation of oversight and authority of the Congress of the United States and of the Constitution of the United States, and whereas the federal government, per orders from the leader, has used illegally acquired power to deport migrants, has committed crimes against humanity in foreign locales, and has adversely amended rules and regulations in various bureaucracies by executive fiat and without proper procedure, and whereas many of the states that have entered into union under the compact entitled the Constitution of the United States of America have been adversely affected and injured by such violations of the leader, which the Congress of the United States has refused to counteract per its constitutional authority. And whereas the state of New Jersey, having entered into this compact on the 18th day of December in the year of our Lord 1787, upon her own free will, and now is forced to bear witness to efforts by the leader to breach said compact with intent to cause adversity to states whose electors did not cast their ballots for him in the election for the presidency and the vice presidency of the United States having just transpired in the year of our Lord 2024. And whereas it is the responsibility of the government of the state of New Jersey to remedy adverse and most likely illegal actions of the leader that go largely unchallenged at the federal level of government, now, therefore, be it ordained by the governor, the assembly, and the Senate of the state of New Jersey and the people of the state of New Jersey that the ordinance adopted by us in convention on the 18th day of December in the year of our Lord 1787, whereby the Constitution of the United States of America was ratified, and also all acts and parts of acts of the legislature of this state ratifying amendments of the said Constitution are hereby repealed. And be it further ordained that ratifications of the treaties and entrances into agreements with various nations under the Constitution of the United States of America will remain in force between the state of New Jersey and said nations, and that ratification of treaties and entrances into agreements under said Constitution illegally invalidated by the leader, a point of reason for repealing ratification of said Constitution and subsequent amendments, will also remain in force between the state of New Jersey and said nations. And be it further ordained that the union now subsisting between New Jersey and other states under the name the United States of America is hereby dissolved. Ladies and gentlemen, the union is dissolved. Thank you for listening.